Yeah. Good
Oh,
morning,
there we
Christian.
go.
Good morning. Here we are, day 3 of our marathon of 7 days of going through all the different points that can really help you succeed in your brand endeavor, or that way you could find some pitfalls. I'm really enjoying this process with you, to be honest with you. How are you finding it?
Yeah, no, day 3 is great. It's like, I think we could be doing this every day forever, but I'm not sure people will get really bored of listening to it.
Never. No, it's the most exciting industry in the world. Of course they couldn't get bored.
There's a lot going on, actually. Tell me a little bit about what's going on, Richard. What's happening in the fashion industry at the moment? Have you seen any news this morning that we should know about?
Well, it's not news from this morning, but it's something that I'm keeping like a little sneaky eye on. I mean, I've been watching this story kind of unfold for a while. Versace's up for sale. I don't know if you know that, but
Ooh.
Prada has just got a 4-week exclusive that they can go in and check all their accounts, check everything that's been happening in the last couple of years, because there's a potential for maybe making an offer as a takeover. And that's kind of something very interesting, because obviously they have polar opposite clientele. One's very minimalist, like traditionally very minimalist. The other one's a very, very maximalist brand. But I think for Prada, it could be something very interesting, because they have 2 other brands inside their group. Obviously, it's the first 2 is Prada and Miu Miu, which of course is their star brands. But then they also have 2 brands, which I think many people don't realize have been brands which have helped them hugely over the years, which have helped them with their expertise in footwear, which is Car Shoe and Churches, which are very, very traditional brands. And that's kind of, those 2 brands really helped them to be able to be those global players with their footwear business. So I think that it could be something interesting in helping them maybe reach a slightly different consumer, and kind of understand the data and the metrics behind all that. So I think it's quite interesting, but it's not something that's finalized, but it's definitely something that's in conversations, let's say, because they do have a 4-week exclusive to delve into all the hidden vaults and troves of Versace and see, is there a business moment there for them? So that's quite interesting.
I'd love to find out what happens within these companies, actually, and get a little sneak peek of what is actually profitable and what is not, and where all of the pricing structure. And we're going to be talking more about pricing today. Actually, we're going to go deep dive into pricing today, aren't we? So I think it was so fascinating to be able to see behind the scenes what the numbers actually look like, because I think the front always look so great. Because some brands, as we know, as part of these large conglomerates, they're not actually making a profit, but yet we aspire to become like them falsely.
Indeed. And I think the idea of making profits and making these huge numbers is fantastic. But if you, as a brand owner or as a company owner, you're not making any actual money, you just have huge expenses that goes along with it, then that can be problematic. And I think that really starts from the very beginning. And I know we spoke in the last couple of days really on brand positioning, and pricing structure goes hand in hand with that as well. So when you start really the conversation about what brand you are trying to create and where you want your brand to sit in which environment, you have to also look at the price points that sit alongside that. And from that point of view, then it's almost like a working backwards on how you start developing and bringing your product up to date, to know how you do your pricing structure. Because I can really honestly tell you, it's not a handful of times and not 2 handfuls of times, it's multiple handfuls of times that I've had meetings with brand owners, people that have been in business for, say, 3, 4, 5 years. And I'm asking them, how is your pricing structure? And they're using landed prices as a wholesale price they're offering to their wholesale partners, which I know there's maybe some people that are new on here, but what basically that means is the people aren't making any money from that. They're just using their wholesale partner as a vehicle to help them to reach that minimum order quantity as 150 or 300. And that's what they're using their wholesale for. And that's not really leaving any money for you to make any money in the background. You're almost like working for your department store, working for your major key account wholesale player. So all those conversations need to happen. You need to be very clear on what is your wholesale price going to be, what markup do they want to achieve, which is something very separate to what you need, bearing in mind they're not bearing the brunt of any of the costs or any of the startups or any of the ongoing development things that you have. You should be getting a good share of that. So it's a conversation to really help them find what is the real price of the goods and what is the price that you need to sell things at.
Yeah, because we are currently launching a wholesale growth system. So I've been talking to lots of brands about their wholesale strategies. And I think this problem comes up quite often when I start having these conversations with the brands, and actually their pricing is not high enough
Yeah.
To warrant wholesale, but yet they want to get into that space. But then once you start looking at the numbers, it's like, oh, but you're going to lose money doing this. But then I guess you could take it as marketing cost if you can afford it, but I don't think it's so I'm currently having lots of these conversations, and this is not uncommon. It's so let's talk a little bit about our pricing. So how do we look at pricing? Are you happy to do like a kind of a live run through in terms of how we think about pricing? Is that possible? Because I think that'll be really useful for a lot of the brands that will be watching. Like, okay, how do we think about production price, and then how do we get to a wholesale price, retail price? What do we need to get to?
Okay, I think I'll just do something very, very simple, and I'll do it very nice and slowly so that people can keep up and keep on track with what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. So let's say, for example, that you want to be a middle to high end brand, not over the top. So you want to be next to brands a little bit like nothing too high. Let's say something mid-market like a Balenciaga or like a Diesel or like a Levi's, where you can get t-shirts and things retailing out from 60 to 99 pounds retail, right? You want to be kind of in that zone. You want to be a denim brand and also have t-shirts to go along with it. Mm-hmm. When you go to your suppliers, let's take, say, for example, you're going to do something in Portugal, which is not too far because we're all here in Europe and great quality. They work with lots of great brands, and you want to do a t-shirt order, and they're going to give you a price. So typically they'll have a minimum order quantity. Let's say it's 300 per color or 150 per color. The price they'll give you, it might be anything from, with say 2 color prints on it and a little bit of embroidery, you might be looking at anything from €11.30 to say €15, let's say maximum, for something really over the top and great quality organic cotton, this kind of idea. So let's say, for example, you buy your t-shirt and it's landed cost then for you with a little bit of shipping of maybe 25 cents per item. It's going to land to you at say €15.20. And that is your landed cost. Just writing down a little bit of stuff here.
Yeah, me too.
So when you do your pricing strategy and your brand positioning, you'll say, I want to sit next to brands like Diesel. I want to sit next to brands like in this kind of upper echelon of denim brands. So I'm looking at their t-shirt pricing structure, and they have t-shirts from say 49 to 59, 69, 79. And they're embroidered t-shirts with 2 color all over prints and with a little bit of destruction detail coming out at 79. We want to be maybe say 10% less than that because we want to be a competitor, but we want to have similar qualities. So we're going to sell our t-shirts at 69 instead of 79. So your t-shirt, let's open this up, with 69 retail divided by your 15.25 markup from wholesale, or from manufacturing, will give you a 4.5 markup. But that's good for you because that will help you cover all your costs, will help you pay your staff, will help you maintain your brand, do advertising campaigns, everything. So when you go to sell your t-shirts into wholesalers, they have their own expectations about what they want each individual brand to generate. And this is sometimes the point where a lot of brands forget to do their little bit of questioning. So most wholesale department stores, most wholesale individuals, they will expect a markup of 2.5 or say 2.6, more or less, 2.5 times, 2.6 times. And that's reasonable because when you look at what you're getting from doing your own production and all the hard work, you're getting 4.5, 4.5 times what you're getting. So if I look at that, give me a second. So 69 divided by 2.6, let's say. So they're going to be, so your wholesale price, if you're going to use 2.6 as a markup, should be €26.50. And that's quite a good price because that still leaves you with, so you still get the difference from your landed cost of 15.20 to 26, which is more or less 10 euros per t-shirt is what you will make as your margin. So there's still some money for you to be made. You won't make the full amount of money that what you would do if you were selling it directly on your own platforms or your own websites, which would be the 69 minus the 15, which is £50 or €50, excuse me. You're making £10. So that would be the difference when you think about markups and margins. If you're selling that t-shirt that you've made for €15 in Portugal and you're selling it for 69 here in Europe, you're getting the difference of those two things, which is £50. If you don't have your own distribution channels and you're going to need the help of, say, Selfridges, or you're going to need Harrods, they're going to want to have a substantial margin part of that, because obviously they're going to provide staff. They've already got this beautiful kind of this beautiful front shop window and stores locations, and they're going to provide all those kind of things to go with it. So they're going to need to cover their margins as well. But it's just interesting to make sure you fully understand the pricing part of it. And it also comes back a little bit on the financial side to understand that if I do this myself, every t-shirt I sell, I can make £50 profit or €50 profit on that. If I get somebody else to sell it, I will only make £10 profit on each of those transactions. And when you start looking at in these kind of numbers, you'll suddenly realize, wait a second, if I do a lot more of the work myself, I can hit minimum order quantity value much quicker. I can cover my break-even point much quicker. So I think the correct answer for me, from when I work with clients as well, is helping them find that balance between exposure in the real world with wholesale partners, but then also making sure that you have a really solid foundation of something which you own and control yourself to give you that maximum amount of margin and profit per item, so that you can make more decisions really for your brand, and you can pay for all those nice advertising campaigns, and you can have those nice offices, and you can all that stuff. And that's where the balance is needed, because I think if you just do it only wholesale, I mean, to be really honest with you, even this week, I'm seeing things at London Fashion Week. There's brands that are paying huge amounts of money to be on Vogue.com, and they're doing fashion shows, or they're doing nice dinners, and they don't have a platform that they're selling their own goods off, or their own store. Everything is fantastically through Dover Street Market, blah, blah, blah. But when you see the difference in what you can earn just on a simple t-shirt, if you're selling it yourself or somebody else is selling it for you, for me, the math, I'm like, wow, so how are you able to be paying the 10, 11,000 that Vogue.com will have to put your presentation, your lookbook on there for the season? And how much is that dinner that's costing you in Soho that you're having all the editors over from all the magazines? When you look at the math and you look at the hard work and how long it's going to take you to get there, the £10 per piece or the £50 per piece on a t-shirt, and this is just very simple products, you realize that you can have a very long hard haul, or you can work a little bit smarter and have a combination of the two. I think that's kind of where I stand on pricing structures.
It does take quite a lot to run a fashion brand, doesn't it? Because you've got the upfront cost of creating collections. I think, although now with AI and everything, and people taking sustainability into consideration, we are producing less samples, or we are able to produce less samples than we previously probably did, because we can support that through AI or pre-selling in that way, rather than having a full collection. I remember when we first launched our brand, it's like we had to produce everything in every colorway, and it was very costly. And then you don't reap your rewards until a year later.
Indeed.
And then still you had to produce everything. So it's not that simple. It's actually really complex to manage different seasons and the cash flow that comes in to the business.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I think I know that it's a difficult journey. That goes without saying. But I definitely think the sustainability part of it really starts also with the clarity on your brand, and really about what is it we're going to produce, having a plan, having a range plan, which says we need X amount of options in X amount of things, and we try not to go over the limit, because each one we produce is an extra 1,500 for that new colorway that we say we need. Or you need to be mindful of the costs of all of these things. I think we're working together a lot. We need to kind of help to lift the veil on this whole process, and to really help people starting out on that, because I can only imagine coming into this environment with the full creative part of it on your back, but not understanding that, listen, if you want to see what the extra color looks like in black, you've only got navy, that's an extra £1,500, you know that. Yeah. So it's all those kind of conversations that can help you with that. And I think definitely being a little bit financially literate in the process of what is required.
And I think it's not just that, it's also the material as well. If you think about, if you're using the same material, I think a lot of designers are aware of this already, but sometimes we don't plan it out in that way. So the more you use the same material, of course, you're going to hopefully reduce the waste that you're creating, and also the cost. So actually, the more sustainably you think about your collections in a way, and if you're using zero waste, then you can actually utilize all the scraps to make something else as well. So it actually goes hand in hand. It's not exclusive to one part of the business
Absolutely
and not the other, right?
Exactly, and I think that's where where our worlds meet together in a really beautiful way. It's from the very commercial sense of this is what needs to happen and let's have some clarity, but then also the sustainability part. And I think we mentioned it yesterday. Being a sustainable brand often has a lot more values and morals attached to it already in there, so that we're trying to make the right decisions and we're trying to figure it out. And I think that's where we have a really good common ground in between.
Yeah.
And I think what one other part, which is definitely a good point to do when talking about pricing, and it goes hand in hand with brand positioning, is when you're thinking about pricing and brand positioning, it really is the first key that helps when people want to buy your brand, say wholesale. So they know, again, where to place your brand, or what floor in the department store your brand goes in, or what page or inside our online store you're going to be sitting next to. So having clarity on that and being consistent with that, it's really important. And I think it's really important to know what your competition is doing. And as I say, regardless of whether you're a sustainable brand or you want to be a sustainable brand, there's always going to be a comparison out there for you to compare your brand or your products with. You're not an isolated incident that you're making white t-shirts in organic cotton. That you're not the only one, I promise you. So definitely be aware of the market around you and who you're trying to target.
Yeah. Can I just switch gear? Well, actually, it's related.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of sustainability, we don't really believe that. I think there is a kind of a push and pull there in terms of selling. Like, we want to sell because we want to sustain our businesses, we want to make the profit, but yet at the same time, the more we produce, the more of a negative impact we create within the brand. That's actually the reason why I stopped all production after about 10 years, because I realized the more successful my brand was becoming, the more of a negative impact my collections would have on the environment. So there is a fine line of pushing towards growth, but yet resisting at the same time. So there is a disconnect. So how do you see, if I was a sustainable brand and I want to grow sustainably, but we also believe in degrowth as a concept and idea in our business, how do you see that we can structure that within our business to not constantly just buying more and more and more, not selling more and more and more for growth? How can we build that into our business to still grow as a business, but not necessarily putting more out in the output?
Wow. Okay. This is this is a tough one. This is a tough one. I think you can see that this has happened through brands that continue to be successful, and not that they switch gear, but they just really focus on what their brand values are. So I'm going to give you two examples, and I can give you two examples and show you. One is very sustainable, so that would be like the brand Patagonia. I think we're all very familiar with that as a sustainable brand. They've had some incredible best-selling boots and shoes that they've had in there in the past, hiking boots. And because they couldn't find one part of that shoe production that couldn't be sustainable anymore, they completely discontinued that and moved on to other projects. So there is a way to handle and manage it that way. And they're still a very successful brand that's growing. And I think people said, if you did the shoe, you would own all the shoe business and all that kind of growth there. But they say no, but they're still a very respected brand, and they have almost full circularity with everything that they're doing. So that's that one from a very, very sustainable point of view. I'm going to give you another example that might not seem like it is, but it is exactly the same thing. I think if you remember, well, I think everybody knows the brand Vivienne Westwood. And up until, I think it was like maybe 5 years ago, before she's passed away, Vivienne was at this point where she was super frustrated with the department stores and the branding of the brand, where it was just the orb logo that you're seeing everywhere at all. And it was taking it was frustrating. It was taking people a little bit away from the brand and people just having it, but it wasn't special. So she took away a lot of those products and said, we're going to really focus on the things that make you special, that emotionally make you connect with the brand. And that's what we want to stand for. And that's kind of what she was doing all the way up until this moment, up until before she passed. To kind of bring people close to the brand, take away the amount of pieces that she was selling, but the piece that she is selling might be slightly higher value, but they're definitely more precious, and the value is seen in a different way. So there's definitely two examples that you can see how you can balance out your output and still keep your reputation and increase your engagement, if anything, and increase your reputation, because your morals are definitely on display when you are making those big swinging changes in your brand.
And I guess it comes down to positioning again, as we repeatedly mentioned. We need to position ourselves as the wanting to not sell so much. I mean, I think Patagonia did that, didn't they? They had a campaign saying, "Do not buy this jacket." I can't remember that wording that they used. If you don't need it.
Yeah, indeed, and they absolutely wear their heart on their sleeves. They're very, very clear about their intentions, and they do what they say. And I think that having that kind of credibility and authenticity in the industry is incredible. Because I think a lot of the times that isn't what you receive. So I think that
it's difficult though to manage as a smaller brand. This kind of, because you do need to reach a certain level in your revenue to sustain your team and the production, and you need to reach the minimum order quantities. But yet you kind of don't want to go too far one way.
Yeah, I think. But I think that point of where you reach that point, like even with you and you reaching your point, it was like after a 10-year process. So there is quite a road to get to there. So and there's quite a lot of learnings and things that you can figure out along the way and expertise you can pick up. So it's not something that you're starting your brand today and you're going to find yourself at that point tomorrow, because that probably, or next year, this time next year, it would be wild for that to happen. But incredible. I would love to see it.
But this is why we're doing this, because I don't want people to spend 10 years of hard grafting and money learning the things that we already learned. Like, let's share this out and say, hey, this is what we've gone through. This is the solution that we found worked for us or other brands. Take this, take this. Don't just learn on your own.
Exactly. But traditionally, all of this will take a year because, to produce your first collection is going to be at least 3 months in production and et cetera, et cetera. So everything is a 6 month kind of thing. So before any one product even arrives on the store, there's normally a year that's gone into preparation and development and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, I think I really stand up for people making the big swings, making the big changes, fearlessly. And I think that resonates a lot with the communities and definitely people in the industry that buy in and support your brand. That's the kind of big swing that they want to see. And I think that if any negative feeling you have from anybody saying, "Oh my God, I can't get your cheapest, worst quality product that's damaging the environment," that probably isn't the customer you wanted to have in the first place. So I think that was kind of the message that we're getting from both of those brands and the big swings that they do in these particular moments.
Yeah. Okay, well, great. I can't see anybody connection whilst we're on here. So
we got Sonai Vada there on the side.
Okay, hello, Sonal. Good to see you. I actually can't see if we are on Instagram or not, or Facebook. We should be, but if we're not, we will repost this video. What I'm going to share here as well, if anybody wants to learn more from Richard, we do have a course starting on Monday called Build a Better Brand. I will share the link here.
Magic, look at that.
Right there, buildabetterbrand.vip. So if you want to find out more, go on the link and check it out. We will go through all of this: pricing strategies, collection strategies, your pyramid, everything. What else do we cover in the course, Richard?
Go to market strategies, or margin projections, cash flow projections, all these things that can really help. I think the course is really to help you almost like have a team on your side when you're starting off, that you have like a creative director, finance director, go-to-market strategist, all of those people in your back garden, so that at any moment you can see what options are we producing, what is our projection for the year, real clarity, what's our break even, how many pieces of this do I need to sell to cover my costs. We really make sure that you have all those tools in very easy to understand ways in your back pocket. I think that's what the course is there for, to demystify this, so you don't have to do the 20 years hard slog that me and
Let's not do it. So check it out, buildabetterbrand.vip, and it's a 30-day live coaching program. So every week we'll drop a module on one of the topics that we've just mentioned, and then at the end of the week we take some live questions and with you guys, so that we make sure that you get all of your answers for all the questions to help build your brand, to help build a better brand, more sustainable brand. So we'll both be on hand to talk about how to build a more sustainable brand that makes a difference in the world, as well as making some profit as well. So thank you so much for tuning in.
Indeed.
We will see you again tomorrow.
Perfect. Have a great day, guys. Thanks, Trisha.
Bye. Bye, Richard. Bye.